Hey guys, welcome back to Reserved Investments on YouTube. So I want to take this time just to thank all my new subscribers, my new enthusiasts, my new viewers, and a lot of people who found this video either through Pat the NES Punk or just through the YouTube algorithm. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to have a little bit of a discussion on the rise of sneaker collecting as a alternate asset class, and also we're going to talk about StockX. Now, before I go any further, as you guys know who watch any of my videos, I am not corporately sponsored. I have no vested interest in collecting, investing, speculating in sneakers, or I have no vested interest in StockX as a whole. I just find the market fascinating, and I wanted to do a video on it because I have been following the collectible sneaker craze ever since around the year 2005 when it first hit kind of mass market appeal, meaning a lot of people were getting into the market around 2005, 2010. Then it kind of blew up, and now there's a lot of people that adequately collect, speculate, and invest in all things of Nike Air sneakers and related accessories and fashion pieces. Well, we kind of have to look at this as a whole, though, because if you go on StockX's website at StockX.com, you're going to learn that they also look to be wanting to move into the realm of the collectibles marketplace. As a matter of fact, they have a link on their site where you can view some of the collectible offerings that they have. Now, what makes StockX such a prominent player in this type of marketplace is they were founded in 2015, so they're fairly new. They're only about 5 years old. But when they were founded, they had a lot of heavy financiers and Wall Street backers, as well as rumored to be celebrity Hollywood stars that wanted to invest in the startup because they saw an interesting concept emerge. See, if you're like me in the collectibles marketplace, you've probably done business on eBay. Now, eBay, I'm not going to mock them. They have their own problems. They have a completely different mindset sometimes than that benefits the collecting community, and I recognize that. But eBay did at least create the first known e-commerce platform that brought together buyers and sellers. Well, what separates eBay from StockX, and some would say makes StockX better, eBay, if you have a dispute, if you buy something off of eBay that's not as described or is deemed not authentic or had restoration or is a reproduction, you can go through a dispute process and you will eventually get your money back. In fact, one of the problems that a lot of sellers have on eBay is that eBay always sides with the buyer. Now, as a buyer and seller on eBay, I see both ends of the transaction. So I can pretty much state that, yes, eBay does tend to favor the buyer, but much like Amazon, they kind of have to because it's just the modern era way of doing business in 2019 and beyond. So you have a lot of people, if they buy something from Amazon, they don't care whether they got it from Amazon themselves or a third-party seller on Amazon. If they have a problem with that item and they want to return it, and Amazon doesn't accept that return, it's going to create a negative consumer experience, and overall, Amazon is going to get backlash in the marketplace. Well, eBay's no different in 2019, going into 2020 and beyond. They have to protect their buyers, even if it costs them sellers. It's just the way the market is, guys. That's not going to change anytime soon. If you go back from the beginning of the origins of eBay, back when it was auction web, back in 1995 when it first premiered on the scene, and you look at all the policy changes that have occurred from then until now, you'll see a trend where eBay has become more buyer-focused than seller-focused. Sellers come because the platform is well known. If you put a product on eBay, you're more likely to sell it than starting your own website or going to a lesser known platform overall. Now, eBay has had its fair share of competitors. Matter of fact, Amazon came along, and Amazon really took a large portion of eBay's business away. That's why, in my opinion, just as a side note, what eBay needs to do going forward is they need to start catering to collectors and understanding that even if a lot of the third-party sellers on eBay who sell more modern era products that aren't really in the collectibles range, if those people would leave the site, eBay could really strengthen their business by catering to the antiques and collectibles trade. And I think they can learn some things through the example that StockX is putting out there on the market today. So what is StockX? Well, as I've said, StockX is pretty much a marketplace that brings the buyers and sellers together, but it's with a twist. Here's the twist. If you're a buyer and or a seller, and you want to list a pair of sneakers on StockX, you create an account, you list the sneakers at a price that you would like to get for them. That's called an asking price. So let's say that you have a pair of Air Jordans or Nike Air sneakers that are worth $500 to $550. You can create an account, you can list the sneakers for $550, and of course, most of the merchandise that they sell, or all of it I should say, is pretty much new. So it has to be new to my knowledge. I don't think they do anything used in the sneaker or fashion range. Let me know and correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm not seeing too many used listings on StockX. That said, you create your listing and you put your ask price of $550. Well, if somebody looks at your pair of sneakers and says, wow, I would like to get them, but I'm only willing to pay $500, they can put in a bid of $500 towards the sneakers that you have listed at $550. At that point, you can either accept the offer, you can deny it, or you can just wait for somebody to meet your ask price of $550. Now, let's suppose that you have these sneakers listed for $550. Someone comes along, no question, they click the button and they want to buy them for $550. Well, this is what separates StockX from eBay. The sneakers that you just sold get sent to StockX. They don't get sent to the buyer. StockX confirms that the sneakers are authentic and in the conditions stated. They then act as a third party and they make sure the buyer gets those sneakers and you get paid. So there's less risk in buying a brand new pair of $500 Nike Air sneakers on StockX than there would be on eBay. StockX also does an excellent job at limiting sellers who push out reproduction or fake goods onto the marketplace, because you know up front that if you sell something on StockX, you have to send it to them, they have to look it over, authenticate it, then send it to the buyer. There's going to be less counterfeit sellers trying to push their wares through a site like StockX. Unlike eBay or Amazon, where you just click a button and you get it sent, nobody authenticates the merchandise. Now, here is one of the downfalls that I see with a site like this. And I want you guys to really listen to this because I think this has credibility. One of the problems is if they keep expanding into certain markets like collectibles, or even if they would go into, and I'm just stating, trading cards, vintage games, vintage toys, if they would expand in that realm, the problem is you're going to have to hire more and more experts who can authenticate certain items in those collecting categories. Now, another problem that you have, what happens if somebody lists something on StockX, they send it out, and it truly is fake. Maybe the buyer or the seller doesn't even know that they sent something to them that is considered fake or reproduction, and it slips through. That can harm their reputation overall. So one of the things that StockX really has to be careful of in the future is if they start branching out into other collectible markets, or even if they start skirting like the trading card industry, or if they would want to get into vintage toys or what have you, they have to be very careful that the people who are authenticating these items are really knowledgeable, are experts in their field, and know what they're doing. So as it is today, it would appear that StockX is a success. I know a lot of people that go on this exchange. I know a lot of people that use it. There's a lot of people that tell me I should use it if I'm looking to buy a pair of Nike Airs, not just if I want to collect them, because I really don't collect sneakers, but if I want to get a pair just to wear or to have, StockX is the way to go. I do see it as a great resource. I see it as a great site overall, but I just want you guys to be aware that if they move too fast into other collecting categories, there could be a backlash, because I don't think that they're going to have the know-how and the experience to authenticate those collecting categories like they do in the realm of sneakers. They really seem to be experts on sneakers. And to be fair, from what I've heard, there are a lot of very well-made counterfeit sneakers out there, whether we're talking about Adidas, Nike Air, or the like. So you really have to be careful when you're buying that type of quote-unquote commodity. Now, I should talk a little bit about whether or not I think collecting, speculating, and investing in sneakers or other related collectibles has legs and is a valid alternative asset class. The problem that I warn about people who are getting into this market, you have to understand that sneakers were not meant to be long-term collectibles. It's almost like talking about vintage carded or vintage factory sealed toys in this matter. A lot of the items and materials used to make sneakers are prone to breaking down, deteriorating, and discoloration. If you don't believe me, look at the Sneaker Museum. I think that was located out on the West Coast. I want to say Nevada, if I remember correctly. The person eventually sold a lot of their holdings and also shut down the museum because a lot of the early white Nike Air or Air Jordan sneakers started to discolor and they started to deteriorate. Well, if you're going to pay $1,000, $5,000 in some cases for a pair of sneakers, you don't want any discoloration, any damage, or any deterioration. At present time, it is very hard to come up with a way to store and or hermetically seal sneakers in a type of a holder or a case that prevents them from any type of breakdown. So I caution a lot of people out there, I would not advise buying sneakers as a long-term investment or an alternative asset class. If you want to speculate on them, you want to buy them and flip them, and maybe the other person just wants to own them for a brief period of time and or wear them, which is what they're really meant for, then maybe you can make a business out of it. But I really caution people from paying $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on up for a pair of sneakers from the 1990s that in most cases are going to be prone to deterioration, discoloration, and overall breakdown, even if you just store them in their original box in your closet. So you have to be careful understanding this market, knowing the risks. That said, guys, I encourage all of you to at least check out StockX just to see how the platform works for your own benefit, because I really think as the antiques and collectibles trade moves forward and as we develop new ways to buy, sell, bring together collectors, speculators, and investors on certain platforms, I think that StockX is ahead in the game in this sense. I just caution what markets they move into, because if they don't have an expert who's able to authenticate the items that they're moving into, it could lead to disaster as a whole. And we all know it takes one reproduction or one fake item to get through, and it's going to destroy their reputation if that were to happen. So thank you for watching. I hope this video has helped you. I hope that you got something out of this. If you did not, please let me know in the comment section. I love your feedback. And as always, please consider subscribing. Thanks, guys.